Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox, where we talk about all things Xbox from the original to the Series X, and today we're discussing Cabela's Dangerous Hunts 2, a first-person shooter hunting game released for PC, PS2, GameCube, and of course, the original Xbox in North America on November 15th, 2005. It was published by Activision and developed for Xbox by Fun Labs. So this is our second go-around with the Dangerous Hunts series. If you recall, I wasn't a big fan of the original with its poor graphics and uninteresting gameplay. I was hoping that this one would provide a much more enjoyable experience over its predecessor. Starting off, the biggest change in this entry is that it actually has a story, which I appreciate as it gives a nice pacing to the overall levels that the original just doesn't quite have. It's half-baked though. You play as a nameless hunter on the hunt for an old friend named Bullseye. Throughout your quest to find him, you travel across the globe to places like Alaska, Africa, Australia, and Siberia. Along the way, it seems like your character has an awful knack for attracting deadly animals. Everywhere you go, you are getting attacked by bears, hippos, gators, and so much more. They're ready to take a bite out of you. The narrative is a bit loose, designed to fit around cool locales and dangerous animals. It's honestly cheesy, but enjoyable. It exceeded my expectations and was, a sort of enjoyable story. Now, let's dive into the gameplay though, which is very hit or miss. It's an improvement over the original, especially with the removal of that awful stamina meter that just slowed you down constantly. This time it presents itself more as an action game rather than a hunting one. You're taken from point A to point B with enemies rolling around towards you. There isn't much stealth or hunting involved. It's primarily a first-person shooter. The gunplay is fine, if not a little generic. Nothing really stands out about it, and it's not really satisfying to play, but it's not poorly made or anything, and isn't as messy as its predecessor. Movement and controls work well. Navigating through different locales is enjoyable, although I found them a bit too easy to traverse. I managed to beat this game in just a little over 2 hours, which was very disappointing. I'm usually not one to complain about short games, as shorter experiences can be satisfying, especially at a time in my life when I have less time to play games. However, I expected the game to at least be replayable, and I had no desire to go back to this one after beating it. There are 80 collectibles scattered throughout the levels, and collecting them all unlocks special levels, but even with that, it wasn't enough to keep me excited. The game lacks content and needed something more. Perhaps another game mode, something a bit more arcadey for quick playthroughs, but unfortunately it's not there. All you really have is half-baked story levels and a few hunting missions you get through collectibles. It is not a deep experience. Graphically, the game looks alright. I really appreciate the different locales and the sense of globe-trotting adventure with each region's unique elements. There are desert levels with cool quicksand traversal sections, and I enjoyed a swampy level where you had to avoid alligators by weaving between rocks. The AI is basic, but I do think the visceral attacks require quick reflexes, or the use of a slow motion mode with just a button press and you can keep up with the onslaught. It's not the most amazing combat, but it's enjoyable enough. The biggest issue for me was a lot of the levels were escort missions. While I understand the need for a few, a significant portion of this game involves protecting NPCs. Their health is surprisingly high, and I don't think I ever had an escort die. The challenge more lies in their pathfinding and their refusal to follow you, or their tendency to just stand in place. It feels like the slow AI is merely padding out such a short experience, and it still couldn't extend the gameplay beyond 3 hours. By the end of the game, escorting these people around became extremely tedious. It was so annoying to get really far into a level just to turn around and the AI you're escorting, they decided just to stand at the end of the path and watch you move on. Couple this with the constant frame drops. This game runs poorly. If more than one animal enters the screen, it becomes quite painful to play, and these two things together do not make a great and fun game. In terms of sound, I will say that that's at least decent. The gun noises are well done and the animals sound exactly as they should. It immerses you into the different locations you go to. And I do have to give some points to the music as well. It changes based on your location and it creates a dynamic atmosphere. There's a point where you have to navigate down a river and a really nice drum and bass beat kicks in as you roll down it. And it provides a refreshing mix of electronic music that I wasn't really expecting out of this game. So overall, I would say there are strengths and weaknesses, but this game overall is more on the weak side. It plays fine, but suffers from poor performance. It lacks content, resulting in limited replayability. It does have an edge over the original with its occasionally enjoyable gameplay, an addition of a story, and graphics and soundtrack that aren't that bad. However, it's not enough to make me say I enjoyed my time with it. So I didn't really enjoy this one, but I could also not be the target crowd. If you did enjoy this game, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your experiences with it and how you enjoyed this game back in the day. But I did want to do my research and check out some reviews and criticisms of this game at the time of release. They were a little more positive than I was, but I did see a lot of my same criticisms pop out. But I did see that people enjoyed the story, enjoyed that element that was brought into this game. So getting into my ranking list for original Xbox games, this one sits a little low. It enters in at the 28th spot. I did find it better than the original by a lot, but Hummer Badlands at least had a lot more replay value to it. And I think that wraps it up for today's review. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to see more original Xbox reviews, let me know. And any recommendations that you have, also let me know about that. I'd love to hear those. But for now, I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.